Hey everyone, Andy here from Lex Travel Hacks. Today I want to show you step by step how to find flights on points, award availability, how I'll go about booking it and everything to Greece. We'll do Athens specifically because that's the big hub there, and let's get into it. So this is seats.aero. This is my favorite tool to use to find award availability. It makes life a lot easier. You can of course do all of this manually, which I teach also. But since this has come out and become a little bit more refined, it's been pretty useful. There's a free version and a pro version, just different features and filters and stuff like that, so you can decide for yourself, but I have the pro version. So we're gonna use this search feature here, and they have some pretty useful multi-city codes. You can see here's like Europe, for example, which has basically everything. And then USA, which has not everything. I would usually add to this Charlotte and Philadelphia, sometimes like Fort Lauderdale, Austin, whatever ones like that are maybe near you or that you know of. I'll just kind of be adding them in there. You can like comma separate them up top or right here. I already put in Charlotte and Philadelphia. That's probably what I'll leave. And let's see if Europe has Athens. It does, ATH. So rock and roll. So we'll start with Athens specifically, and then we can play around with just Europe in general and like connect through Paris, Frankfurt, Amsterdam, London, whatever. We'll probably just do a whole month window in March or something, just for the purposes of the video. I normally filter nonstop down here, 2 seats and business or first class. You can mess with this as you want. One other thing is that there are some options that are not so obvious to Athens. Really just one, which is the Emirates flight that goes Newark, EWR, to Athens. That has their older generation business class, so not my favorite choice, but we might see it pop up here. It just depends. But it is an option. But in first, that would be a very good option because that is an Emirates first class is renowned as one of the better first classes in the world. Just the business class product on this plane is not the greatest. It is not 1 seat, 2 seats, 1 seat. It's like 232 or 222 or 242 or something. So, you just have to crawl over someone. If you're traveling with that person, maybe it's okay. But let's just see what there is. This is all live, not rehearsed, so we're just going to see what we find. Let's search. So here's that Emirates flight. Another thing I will say about this Emirates flight that can be important is that Emirates is one of the only programs that will price differently, sometimes significantly, when it's round trip versus one way. I'll see if we can find an example of that. Normally I just do one way on these kinds of videos, but I'll just see if we can find like an easier example to show you really quick if that pricing will be different. Otherwise, here it is, 87K points. It is very important to use positioning in these kinds of situations because it might not be easy for Emirates to price this route from like Houston all the way to Athens, like Houston, Newark, Newark, Athens. They just may not have partner flights that line up depending on the airport you're coming from. So a lot of times you'll just pay cash to Newark. Generally, it's better to pay cash and get there a day or two before and not stress about layovers and checked bags and stuff. But you can also choose to just pay cash anytime arriving before 11:45 p.m. and then take the flight, right? So here's an option I would, assuming the date worked and everything, obviously, in your situation, I would go straight to the Emirates site to confirm it. Some of the other sites, it takes us right to it. This one, it doesn't, so we have to manually do it. Make sure that you click classic rewards checkbox here. That means use points and make sure you're logged in. If you don't have an account, just create one. This was February 22nd. Business. We'll just confirm it is here, and then normally I'll like take a note if I'm actively searching for trips, and I'll say, okay, 19th, 20th, 22nd to 25th, it's available all these dates. I'll just put that down and be like, that's an option for us, right? If I was actually gonna book this, here it is, and $100 of tax. So whatever, this lines up with what it says here. Cool. So that's an easy option. There's a bunch of these available. You can see there are some that have first available for 102K. That would be my pick for sure, especially if you have the points to do it. It's barely more points, right? That's, what is that? 15,000 more points. And it's a much, much better experience. So cool that it's available, especially this far out. That's about a month out. So for first class, that's pretty impressive. And then you'll see that Qantas has the same exact flight. It's just another partner offering a different quote, a different price, but it's for the same exact flight. We can confirm it by checking flight numbers if you wanted. EK210. Qantas has the same flight, EK210, but they're charging a bunch more points. So we wouldn't even pay attention to that quote. We can get points into Emirates from all the major cards, to Qantas from some, but either way they're charging more, so we don't care. Even in economy, they're charging over double. So, good option. In fact, in that date range, the only option. The good news is there's a bunch of first class, so cool. And I would also try to find, let's see if we can really quick, before we consider like the Europe layover options and stuff that I mentioned we would look at, let's try to find round trip pricing that is different. The easiest way to do this probably is to swap the airports like that and see if we find return availability. It's available all kinds of dates, because most of the time when you find the 87K on both sides and you put it together round trip, it will price out as less. You can of course just guess, but you know, the dates that you actually want or whatever, but if you see it available here, then it helps to start there. But basically every single day has it open, or most days, so we'll just put what was the original day we were looking at? February 22nd. You put this plus or minus 3 days, that helps. It creates like a big chart and shows you the pricing for everything. And then I would do to whatever day, that's like a week and a half or something. Oh wait, that is 14 days or something. Okay, cool. So, I mean, I put one passenger, but of course search for the amount you need. Another thing to be aware of with Emirates specifically and Qantas in seats.aero, this is a problem specific to these two partners and it's not that obvious, so I figured I'd address it on this video, is that you'll notice it doesn't say anything here about how many seats are available. And if you've used this tool or seen any of my other videos, normally it does show you how many seats are available. So what this means is that seats.aero doesn't have that information. So even if we've filtered here 2 seats, 4 seats, 6 seats, whatever, as long as there's 1 seat available at all, it will show it to you. So sometimes they may appear here, and when you go to the Emirates site and you put 2 people, 4 people, or whatever, even if you had put it here, it won't be accurate. Like, it'll just not show up on the Emirates site because there weren't that many seats available. So something to be aware of with these two partners, specifically on these flights, is that they don't know how many seats are open, so they're going to show it to you regardless, and it's up to you to confirm it. A lot of times that is a source of frustration for people because they're like, well, I looked and it wasn't actually available. So that's why. Like, for example, let's put 2 people here and make sure, because I filtered for 2 over there, but many of these might be for 1 person. So you see the price got higher, but this is because Emirates prices for all people. It probably says that somewhere. It doesn't, but I promise. Right here. Price is shown for all passengers. So in the interest of, like, it's available for a 2 everywhere, so cool, because all the numbers just doubled from what we just saw. So let's do 1 for easy math. So 87K is what we saw in both directions. That is this, 174K. So on many days it is that, but you can see now we have 141Ks, which you will never find one way. This is 70.5K one way. You'll never find 70K one way. If you book one way only on Emirates, you're going to find 87K, and that's it. So that's what I was saying about the round trip. Sometimes I've seen it even lower, like 102K. So it just depends. You can play with dates. That's why I like the little flexible 3-day box, because it'll show us this whole chart. So obviously saving 34,000 miles is amazing, assuming that you find it on the dates you want and that you are willing to book the whole thing. Like, you already know that that is your trip and you're going to come back, right? Sometimes it doesn't work for me, for example, because I don't know how long I'm going to stay, or I might want to hop to a different place in Europe or whatever. So just depends on your needs, but we can click one of these and scope it out. So we'll select that one, and then the other side is 87K. You can see here, Saver sold out. If that one was also there at 54K, that'd be the 108K. I said 102 probably, but 108K round trip that I mentioned sometimes you see. In this case, only half was at the cheaper price. But either way, much better than 87K times 2. And again, you'll only find this on round trip. So yeah, we can pick both of these, whatever, just for the example, and see that here's the total and the 2 flights out there and back. And then I would probably just pay cash. In this situation on the 23rd, I would just go to, in whatever situation, I would just go to Google Flights if you're booking a round trip, then let's just say you're in, I don't know, Chicago or whatever, Chicago to New York, whatever these dates are, which is 23rd and March 6th. So if you wanted to arrive right on time, I would go there. And when do we come back? See, we land 9 p.m. So on the return, you may not be able to fly out of New York that same night. I would probably advise like staying a night or two, or if you wanted to do some other baby trip there in New York after the fact. Or if you're from New York, then you don't have to worry about this. But we can try March 6th. Let me put this in dollars. I'm in Europe now, so. And I'll normally just put alliances here so I don't have to deal with budget airlines, but you can fly whatever you want, obviously. So we need to get there before 11:45 p.m. So you can arrive there at 9 a.m., 11 a.m., noon, whatever. Ideally, maybe some days before. But if you want to get there right on time and like create an actual layover, then I would just pick any of these that are a reasonable time before the actual flight. So we'll pick whatever. And then on the way back, I don't think there's one late enough. It arrives 9:10 p.m. Yeah, it has to be like an 11 p.m. flight or something like that. Maybe we sort it by departure time. Oh, and then I'll put nonstop also. Yeah, so that one won't work, so you'd have to stay the night and fly the next day. So on the return, it's a little bit more inconvenient. I'd probably just stay the night in New York or a couple nights. If you didn't do it on the outbound, then you can stay a couple nights in New York on the return and kind of make a little wind down baby trip there in New York before you go back home to wherever. If you are on the East Coast and you can take trains and stuff like that, then maybe this changes it. I don't know, but that's kind of how I would piece that together. So that is that one option. I would try to do it in first, of course, but up to you guys depending on points, budget, and whatever. And if you're okay sitting next to someone in business class instead of having your own cubby, if you're traveling with someone you don't mind climbing over, then sure, whatever. So anyway, that is the nonstop. Those are the nonstop options. So what I would probably do after that is put Europe nonstop, and I would search like this, and then I would filter by the airport I'm actually at. So if I'm in Houston, Chicago, Atlanta, whatever, this is how I would do it. If it ever loads. Wow. It's a lot of flights though, because we have a whole month worth that we're searching, so normal. So let's just say Houston to London or to Amsterdam or through Frankfurt. So like this Frankfurt, well, I mean, whatever, right? There's plenty of options. It depends where you want to lay over and whatever. I would probably, I just want to show you an example. We could be here all day if I go through all the examples, but I'll show one that I think is a good one. So here's Houston to Frankfurt, and then what I would do, I would confirm it's here, of course, Houston to Frankfurt, and then I would try to add Athens to the tail end of this and see if I could get it to price out the whole ticket for me and not have to worry about paying cash to position on that end. So perfect, here are both options. We saw that there was Houston to Amsterdam and to Frankfurt. So instead of 70K, it's charging 90 though, because the region has changed. So I would probably also quote this on like United's site. Like this was the same example on United's site that was 80K. But the point is, it is available and you can put it all in one ticket, stopping either in Amsterdam or in Frankfurt. It just depends if you want to spend the extra 20K points or take it at 70K to Frankfurt and then you pay cash. Here we would look on Google Flights again and say like Frankfurt to Athens, nonstop. Short is flight, 2 hours and whatever, so economy is probably okay, and then you can just pick one of these and decide if you want to instead pay 100 to $200 or 20K points. The difference is paying the 20K points extra, you will be in business, but for those of you that don't know, inside of Europe, business class is not even as good as our US domestic first class seats. They're like literally the same economy seats, they just usually block the middle seat, and it's closer to the front. I mean, it's whatever. Like when it's free, I'll take it. Like if it's priced the same 70K, if anywhere else in Europe, but because it's Greece, it's a little bit different region, then I don't know, 20K extra points instead of just $100 is not ideal. But anyway, it is possible. Here's the entire ticket, just some more points. Let's see what United would charge for the same thing. Here is 80, just the Houston Frankfurt. And if we add Athens to the tail end of this, let's see what they charge. $88 with the stop in Frankfurt. In Amsterdam, same thing. So 2K less points. The difference is, or the bad thing is that United you can only transfer Chase points to. Air Canada you can use Amex and these others. So if you really wanted it all in one ticket for maybe checked bags reasons or just mental anguish reasons or whatever, or to fly in business near the front, which, whatever, and you have the points budget, then I would just probably book the 90K and transfer from Amex or Capital One or whatever. Chase points are pretty powerful, especially if you use them for hotels like Hyatt redemptions. So I like to save those a little bit more than, and if it's 2K more points, then I would just use Amex for this. But anyway, these are all various examples. I'll probably wrap it up there. You can do the non-stops, you can connect in Europe, you can create your own positioning flights on cash, or sometimes get lucky and you find that it's included in the ticket just like this from your airport. And I would search my airport in here, like Houston in this example, or Chicago, or Atlanta, or whatever, and do the same exact process that I just showed. Always trying to see if you can include it on the same ticket. And when you can't, just know that you book cash flights to and from. But plenty of ways to do it. The good news is that Europe to Greece or like Europe, main Western Europe, I guess, to Greece are all very short and cheap flights for the most part. So worst case, you go to Europe, you connect on one of these big non-stops, and then you just pay cash there. Or maybe you fly the Emirates one, and I don't know, many options. So if you guys want to know more about this, I know it can be a little bit overwhelming if you're brand new. I have a whole course on how to do this A to Z. It's called Lux Travel Hacks. The link is there, right there. And yeah, I'll show you how to get 90 to 100% off business class flights, first class flights, and how to do the same thing for hotels, which tend to be 100% off. No taxes and fees and stuff like that. So I've built this program to help make it easier for you because, even though this is a good walkthrough and everything, when you are brand new, sometimes it takes a little bit more practice and knowledge than what I can show in 10, 15 minutes here. But anyway, I'll see you guys there. Always super excited to see more people posting cool trips in our community and stuff like that. So the more the merrier. But thank you guys for watching. Check out the link, and I'll see you inside.